How's my audio? Should I get
great.
closer?
It's great. You're beautiful, and we love you.
Okay, great. That's all I need to hear. Can you call me in the morning and do that again?
Sure. You're beautiful. We love you, and gosh darn it, everybody likes you.
Dan, I'm going to need you to cut that. Send it to me as a ringtone. Welcome to the RPGBOT.Podcast. I'm Randall James, and with me is Tyler Kamstra.
Hi, everybody.
And Ash Eli.
Help! I need somebody. Help! Not just anybody. Help! It's the first thing that popped into my head when I saw the prompt for today's podcast. Because it's just called Help, and that immedately popped in my head.
I was going to be so sad if you didn't
we were going to do this 5 hours ago. Exactly.
Good. We're all on the same page. Our brains are synced. All right.
Yeah, we're ready to go. I got on a plane this morning and I queued that song up just to like, okay, we got to work through this. Then I still missed the high note. Anyway. All right, Tyler, I feel like you owe us an explanation. Why are we talking about Help tonight?
So I am, in our current Dragonlance campaign, playing a Hobgoblin. Now, the Monsters of the Multiverse Hobgoblin in 5e has this really cool ability called Gift of Hospitality that lets me take the help action as a bonus action and also adds cool rider effect to it. Now, I discovered this week what I've been doing wrong is I have been positioning myself incorrectly to use this in combat. So we're going to get into the mechanics of that, but the short version is I messed up. I want to make sure I remember the rule next time, and I thought it would just be fun to look at this because help doesn't see a whole lot of use in 5e, but people in PF2 have realized that help is super awesome and you should use it all the time. We're going to teach some folks. We're going to teach things like how it works, why it works that way, and how you can enjoy it.
Although I believe it's called something different in both editions. It's called aid in both editions, not help.
That's true. That's true.
aid another, I think is what it's called.
Yeah,
you know
PF1, 3X.
What's frustrating about the help stuff is that every different tabletop game has a different word for it. It's like help,
it really does.
Aid another, teamwork, assist. Trying to find rules for it online is an exercise in frustration because it's usually just people saying, I need help running this game, rather than like, no, I want to specifically know how you aid another. Sorry, that was my little rant about what I had to do right before this podcast.
Yeah, I feel like you're going to beat search for that. It has to be like help action. Like you have to give it that bigram to let the search algorithms pick it up. Also, I think we're going to talk a little bit of math today, and I'm pretty excited about that. Ash, you good? Ready?
Why do you hate me?
Great.
Why do you consistently try to torture me?
Because it's fun to make me sad.
Yeah,
this is what my love feels like.
That's what all my bullies said in high school was it's fun to make you cry.
It's not fun to make people cry, Ash. It does make for a good podcast, though.
It does, yes. I mean, I see all of you on Twitter who's just like who explicitly are asking Tyler, "Hey, can we have another math episode?" Just because I want to torture Ash.
Yep,
I despise all of you.
Hey, if
this
it
podcast has the best fans.
If
Why
it makes those folks feel any better, there is going to be some dice math in this episode.
No. Why do you all hate me when I have given you nothing but love? Nothing. I've been a good little boy. I have done nothing bad.
Okay, well, we're not going to be able to get the dice math if we don't start talking about help.
Yeah.
So to help us do that, Tyler.
We're just going to start with rules text. We're going to jump straight into 5e. We're going to read some text. I don't know why, but this feels like a Gandalf situation. Kind of either you do a decent impression of Gandalf.
I pick Ash.
Oh, yeah, I could probably do a decent impression of Gandalf.
It's right in the show notes. Go for it.
Where is it? Which line? There's two that are in quotes. That one? Okay.
Do both.
I can do Deckard Cain.
Who can't,
when you
honestly?
take that... hold on. I need to do a line of Gandalf. So... Bilbo Baggins, I am not some conjurer of cheap tricks. When you take the help act, the creature you aid gains advantage on the next ability check it makes to perform the task you are helping with. provided that it makes the check before the start of your next turn. So do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All you have to decide is what to do with the time that is given.
I don't think that part's in the rules text, but, I'll take it.
It is not.
It fits.
All right, so
The time given to me is 6 seconds till my next turn.
Okay, so it's pretty simple. You spend an action to take the help action, and then the creature you are helping gains advantage on an ability check. Notably, this is only ability checks. There is help for attacks. That's the next paragraph, though.
Tyler, I have a question. This seems stupid.
Okay. Is there a question mark in there?
No. Okay. So if we're not in combat, if there's no time constraint, then if I'm understanding this correctly, I can basically just always be like, help, whatever, help. What are you doing? You do anything? Yeah. Help.
Yeah.
If we are in combat, this feels like I am throwing the action economy out the window.
I think that's exactly right. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, then let's keep going.
I'll do the next line in Deckard Cain's voice.
Do it.
See how this goes.
Perfect.
Stay a while and listen. Alternatively, you can aid a friendly creature in attacking a creature within 5 feet of you. You feint, distract the target, or in some other way team up to make your ally's attack more effective. If your ally attacks the target before your next turn, the first attack roll is made with advantage.
All right. Now, this is the one folks are most likely to use in combat because, advantage on attack, pretty nice. There are a few different ways to get this, and we'll talk about it, but this is what I got wrong. I was attempting to give my allies advantage on attacks in combat, but instead of being within 5 feet of the target, I was moving to be within 5 feet of my allies, which is way safer when my allies are way over there, away from the enemy. So that's what I got wrong. Won't happen again. Me and my 23 AC are going to actually walk into melee from now on.
Yeah, you have to actually be next to the creature. Everybody gets that wrong when they first read it because it's phrased weirdly.
So I want to ask some clarifying questions here. So let's set up combat. I've got a caster 30 feet away. I'm standing next to the person that I know soon they would like to firebolt.
Yeah.
So they're going to make a spell attack. I can use the help action in this case because I am within 5 feet. And because they are making an attack roll, they get to use it, whether it's a ranged attack, a melee attack, or a spell attack. Is that correct?
That's exactly right.
It's kind of similar to Greater Feint in Pathfinder 1. The whole purpose was use an action to reduce a creature's... They had to use their flat-footed AC. Usually you can only do it, you get the benefit for yourself, but the purpose of Greater Feint is like to give all of your allies that ability. So it is more powerful than in Pathfinder 1 because it's just... Well, I don't know how much... Because we'll get into dice math, but I don't know how much, depending on the creature, I don't know how much advantage is going to give you as opposed to just completely reducing their AC in some cases to negligible amounts because flat-footed AC could really hard nerf the AC of a target creature.
Okay, I have a follow-up question on my previous question. This still feels really dumb.
Yeah. Well,
okay, so what am I going to do? I'm going to give up my action, which is potentially making an attack and then dealing damage, so that you have a slightly higher likelihood of hitting. It's like the meme from Family Guy from like 20 years ago. It's like, do I take the boat or whatever's in the box? Like, you never know what's going to be in the box. It might even be a boat.
Yeah, it's like True Strike. It's like you could just... We all love our advantage. You could just hit it twice.
Yeah.
But the way that I've seen this factored in more than anything is with familiars, because familiars really can't do anything else. They can't attack. So the thing that they're good for is aid, and that's about it. Unless you have improved familiar, like with warlocks. But that's it.
Help in this game.
That's exactly right, though, Ash. Familiars are the most common way that people see aid. Sorry, the most common way that people see help used in combat. It's the owl familiar trick. You have an owl. On its turn, it flies in, takes the help action, flies out because it has flyby, so it won't provoke opportunity attacks. And that's fantastic for characters who only make one attack. So rogues, most spellcasters.
The other way I've seen aid and help, or whatever you want to call it, factor in is always out of combat. Like, that's really common. Assisting another player with a specific check out of combat, that happens pretty commonly. Tyler's right. In combat, this doesn't get a lot of use.
We are going to talk about some character options in a second that let us use it as a bonus action, and I think we're going to be a lot kinder when we get to that point. I actually do want to talk about the out-of-combat scenario for just a moment, though. why doesn't my party help each other with every skill check? Why do we not just default to, you know what, roll everything with advantage? Because we're just going to assume that somebody is helping you do everything that you do always.
Very simple, because you guys can say this in more mathy terms, but let's take one scenario where you assist a person. That's your entire action, is you aid another person and they attack. They roll an at 20 with advantage. Congratulations. Or you attack it, you get a 19. On your friend's turn, they get an at 20. So it's just like, now you have 2 hits rather than the 1 hit. The one really powerful hit.
I meant out of combat. Like we're not under the thumb of the action economy. So I go in to talk to a shopkeep and I'm going to try to get a better deal on something. I go to the king and I'm trying to get a parcel of land. Like, why don't we, for any kind of exploration activities, why doesn't my party just always say, I help them do that, they have advantage?
That's kind of up to the DM, but the way that I've always ruled it is 2 things have to be in play for that to happen. 1, you need to have proficiency in the skill that is being assisted as well. So if you're not proficient in persuasion, you don't get to help the person who's doing the persuasion roll. That's just kind of how it works.
Wait, 2, is that rules as written?
That is not rules as written. That's just my rule, but I feel like it's fair.
What you just said makes perfect sense to me. Yeah. I love that. And I feel like that's a great way to handle it. But rules as written, why?
But the other, that's again, if you're asking why not, the answer is always going to be frustrating in 5e because there isn't a reason. It's up to the DM. It's up to the DM. Okay. That's what makes 5e so frustrating, is that they don't give you hard, fast rules. It's just like, I don't know, figure it out. You figure it out. So if people don't like my rules, guess what? You don't have to use them, but don't complain to me when your players do stuff like this. The other thing is, like, especially with like persuasion rolls, with other things, a good rule of thumb, even if you are ignoring the whole proficiency thing, ask your player to describe what their character is doing to assist. Not just like, oh, I'm going to assist, and then they immediately get advantage. Because in that respect, it encourages players to think outside the box and, you know, develop their character a little bit more rather than just it being a default. The other caveat that I will say is it sometimes depends for me. Like, there are some checks that I think that people just can't assist on. Like when someone's attempting to recall some information and a player asks, can I assist that? I'm like, no, because they're accessing their own memories. If they were researching, that's a different story. You can help someone with research, but if they're just trying to recall some information, you're not getting assist on that. The other thing, and people might disagree with me.
Okay, no, I have to stop right there. Like, we do that literally all the time, though. Like, we're talking about some TV show, and I'm like, who's the actor in this thing? It's like, well, what do they look like? And like, you're going back and forth, you're rubber ducking each other, and all of a sudden, you realize you've both been talking about Michael Douglas for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But I'm specifically talking about, you're in a tense situation and you're immediately called to remember a piece of information. You don't have time to discuss it. So there's no way you can assist on that. The other thing that I would say that I pretty much always forbid people from doing, and people kind of disagree with me, but this just makes sense to me. I don't allow people to assist with lockpicking because that makes no sense. If you need one person to do the lockpicking, I guess you could kind of make the argument that someone might be like guiding them or telling them, but I don't buy it. I think that it's lockpicking should just be a solo activity.
Okay. I love this. If you look in the show notes, which is not just the show notes, it's actually the rules text. In PF2, the specific example they give for how somebody might do aid is helping somebody with a lock.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you might be holding the lock staple while the other person picks it.
That's not helping. That's not helping. That's like that's like someone who's helping you move a couch, and there's like 3 people, and one person is on their phone and like just touching the couch, and like, hey, I helped. It's like, no, you didn't. By a technical definition, I suppose you helped, but you did not help.
Make fun of PM2 when it's its turn. Yeah. I just I had to squeeze that in because that's perfect.
And Wing Lady makes a good point. It's very much a too many cooks situation when you're talking about picking locks. It's a thing that a person just needs to do by themselves. Again, I get that people can disagree with me. This is just how I rule it, because 5e doesn't give you any guidance.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
actually, guidance would be great here.
Yeah. I can't help. Guidance.
Yeah. So that's the other thing is, like, if you can't help them pick a lock, then at least I will allow you give them guidance. The flip side to that with guidance is for extended tasks like research, I will let you assist in that, but I will not let you use guidance because guidance only lasts like a round or 10 minutes. It lasts 10 minutes. And sometimes an extended activity takes an hour and you can't just like wait till they're almost done and be like, guidance. That's stupid and I hate it.
Although I guess that actually makes good sense for rituals. But anyway.
Yeah.
I think there is actually a rule somewhere that says like any buffs, modifiers, whatever to a check only apply if the duration of that thing is longer than it takes to complete the check. I swear that is somewhere in the rules. Could not tell you where.
That's fair. Okay, and so what we're landing on is rules as written. Mm-hmm. We actually could live in a world where every time you go to do a skill check, somebody is taking the help action and helping you.
Yes.
And that's just the world we live in. Ash, I feel like you offer a lot of really good ideas. I think I'm more or less aligned with you on how I'd like to handle most of these situations. Yeah, makes sense. I feel like maybe another trade we could do, especially if you have a larger group, I find myself having to figure this out all the time, right? Like the idea of like, are we doing group checks? Are we doing single checks? Maybe only allowing 2 checks if anybody can make the check. And it's like, you could take the help action to help the other person. And then we're only going to have one roll for the party. Or you could each make a roll. And if only one person's good at the thing, it's probably better to take the help action, give them the bonus. But if multiple people are proficient in whatever skill is relevant at that point, maybe they should be making 2 different checks. That's another, not rules as written, but maybe reasonable way to handle what we're describing. So let's talk about some character options that make taking the help action a little bit more attractive.
Surprisingly, there's only a couple. Help has not gotten a lot of love. We talked about familiars, and that's always an easy go-to. The Mastermind Rogue, an otherwise really underwhelming subclass, lets you take the help action as a bonus action. Now, this is very much, you are expected to be in melee, fighting alongside your allies, and you use your, like, I'm very smart and I have a good plan here. I'm going to give my buddies advantage, and then hopefully they'll do something to return the favor so that I can get sneak attack. They do also gain the ability to use help at range, which is super neat, because if you're built to fight at range, having to rush into melee to help and then not being able to use cunning action to get back out of melee, super annoying. Big problem.
The way I've typically seen this used is it's usually ranged rogues that pick this subclass because it's not really optimal for a melee build.
To talk a little bit about the opportunity cost. So every rogue starting at level 2 can take the disengage or the hide action. So just as you say, I can hop in, make that melee attack, and then get back out. If I am that ranged attacker, I might take the hide action. And for some of the subclasses, taking the hide action and then getting that next attack, from the shadows could be very impactful for your rogue.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're giving that up to help an ally instead.
I see.
So even in this case, is it really attractive?
I mean, I see what they were going for. They were trying to make a normally pretty selfish class into something that was a little bit more of a team player. Because regardless of what you think, rogues are built to be a selfish class. Like they are, all of their in combat buffs are basically only to help themselves and nobody else.
That's definitely true.
So I get it. I don't think this was the way to go, especially with a class that wants to use their bonus action on other things. Like hiding is just, as ranged, is going to be very useful. Set yourself up for advantage. And disengage and dash is just always useful. I would say that it's nice to have options at least, I guess, but considering that the other subclasses just get stuff that they can always use rather than it just being a situation where it's like, okay, I have a party member in melee. I don't need the advantage because I'm going to get sneak attack. Nothing's near me, so I don't need to dash or disengage. I will now use the help action. So all of those parameters have to be met before you can use it. It's what makes the Mastermind class maybe feel a little bit underwhelming.
I'm trying to think through, like, are there particular spell attacks? Like Tasha's Mind Whip might be a good example. Tasha's Mind Whip is a saving throw, right?
It is a save, yeah.
It's a saving throw, okay. Is there a particular spell attack that you could think of where it's like, you know what? As the rogue, I would rather the caster hit on this next spell attack than I would take the hide action and get my sneak.
I believe, no, Disintegrate is a dexterity save, right?
It is.
I always forget because I think in Pathfinder it was an attack roll. Yeah, so there are like some really hard-hitting ones. I can't remember off the top of my head, but
this doesn't bode well for the argument I'm trying.
Yeah,
okay.
but most of that's the problem is most good spells casters don't use attack rolls. That's a big problem with 5e. is that I would say like 70% of the damaging spells in the game use saves rather than attack rolls.
All right, Tyler, what do you got?
Oh, it's so much worse than that. The only spell attack spell of 2nd level or higher is Scorching Rays. Every
Really?
other...
Is that true?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, spell attacks basically are cantrips and 1st level spells, and that's it.
Which they scale well, but I mean, so does
Some
sneak
of
attack.
them.
To some
But the
extent.
problem with using this on Scorching Ray is it's only your first attack roll. Great, you get advantage on that first Scorching Ray, but not the rest of them.
Yep.
So even with Scorching Ray, it's not useful.
Okay, so this is still bad.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The
Okay.
only time that this is good is setting up your hard-hitting martial class. That's it. Or a paladin. Like, this is really good to use with a paladin. That's about it.
Okay. Paladins and rogues, that's basically it. Yeah.
How about this? If I have 2 rogues in the party, instead of them hiding, they can just take turns giving each other the help action and then getting their sneak attack because they're attacking with advantage.
Yes.
That's it.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. Because the ability to use it at range, if you somehow didn't have a ranged weapon, you could, it's a situation we always talk about for barbarians where it's like, I don't have a ranged weapon. I guess I can throw a javelin, but this is going to suck. At least for the rogue's case, if you are this subclass, you have this ability, then maybe, but just carry a bow.
Yeah, the only time I see this
All right.
being just a universal, really useful for people on your team is if you're a party of ranged rogues.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like nobody wants to get in melee, so we're gonna bonus action aid each other. Then it works.
Okay, here's the deal. I came into this episode thinking that like, oh, this is gonna be fun. We're gonna talk about like a new thing people should be taking advantage of more often. And this surely won't be yet another example of us looking at mechanics and saying Pathfinder 2 gets it right. Will it?
No,
yes.
Yeah, it absolutely will. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
Yeah, I've got one more character option for you. So, Monsters of the Multiverse Hobgoblin. Like, I'm playing one of these right now. The Fey Gift trait, whatever. You get to use help as a bonus action a few times per day. I think it's equal to your, proficiency bonus per long rest. You get that right from level 1. Starting at 3rd level, you get cool rider effects, like you can give temporary hit points, you can give a speed boost. The 3rd one, Spite, is worded really annoying. Like, you give them advantage with the help action. They hit. The target that they hit then has disadvantage on their next attack. It's worded very strangely and annoying, but it is really good. So I need to remember to use this more, and also I need to remember to use it by being next to my targets. But it's most of the benefits of the Masterminds help as a bonus action, but it's not built into a class that's already expected to use its bonus action every turn. So it's very easy to fit this into any other class, especially one that doesn't use their bonus action a lot. Barbarian, a lot of fighters, a lot of paladins. Like, very easy to fit into almost any character.
Yeah, so that in that way it's more useful than the Mastermind.
Yeah. Well, should we talk about PF2?
Yeah, and how it's better again.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry that we keep dunking on 5th edition, but I don't know what to tell you. They got it right.
I keep hoping that these things are going to get fixed in the 2024 rules, but I don't think they are.
No, I wouldn't get your hopes up on that.
So aid in PF2, yes, Ash has it right. The name is different. It used to be aid another, now it's just aid. I'm not going to do a fun impression because I'm not that much fun. You try to help your ally with a task. To use this reaction, you must first prepare to help, usually by using an action during your turn. You must explain to the GM exactly how you're trying to help, and they determine whether you can aid your ally. Right there. Does this sound like an improvement over some of the stuff we already beat up on for 5e?
Yes, because 5e doesn't tell you any of that last sentence. It's just like, you just roll, and when does this apply? Who knows? The GM figures it out. And it's what I said before. It's how I rule it before. You have to tell me how you're helping. It's not just automatic. It's not like it's just, I'm going to aid. It's like, okay, but how exactly?
Yeah.
So I like that they add that stipulation because it's better than me arguing with my players. It's just like, okay, I get it, but this is how I'm ruling it. And the GM ultimately is the arbitrator of if you can aid or not.
Okay, so there are some weasel words in here, though, and I want to talk through it. So recognize the sequence of events are meant to look like this. On your turn, usually, we're going to come back to that usually because it's hanging out pretty heavy. Usually, you use an action to prepare to help. And then when they go to actually do the thing, you burn your reaction to actually offer the assistance.
Yes.
So that's a pretty significant cost, right? We have 3 actions per turn. We get 1 reaction per round. I'm both going to burn an action, which might be leftover, so maybe that's okay. And then I'm also burning my reaction for the round, which a lot of classes have great reactions that are available to them. So there's a pretty reasonable cost to what we're doing here. Now, for a moment, I want to talk about usually. Is there any guidance about the unusual situations? The situation is like, oh yeah, you were prepared for that. You didn't need to burn an action for that.
Not built into the rules of aid. But there are a lot of specific feats, other character options that specifically say like, hey, you do this thing, and this counts as preparing to use the aid reaction. So like, it might be a free action on your turn. It might be part of some other action, like you might attack and then be prepared to aid. I can't think of one that actually does specifically that. So that doesn't exist as far as I know, but just as a hypothetical example.
I'll also say it is expensive, but it's not super expensive. Like there's only so much person can do with reactions, like especially with spellcasters. Like I've seen spellcasters, like they do their 2-action spell and then they don't really need to move. So it's just like, well, what am I going to do? This is an option you can use, which is, aiding. There are classes that use a reaction a lot. Yes. But there are equally as many classes that don't use the reaction for basically anything. So it's not as expensive as you would think. It's counterintuitive, whereas like for 5th edition, it was more advantageous to use aid as a martial class, whereas in Pathfinder 2, it's more advantageous to use it as a caster, which is really weird, but just trust me on that because martial classes tend to get more reactions that they can do, specifically attack of opportunity and all that stuff. It's also worth it because the bonuses you get from it are pretty significant, depending on your ability.
All right, so let's look at more rules text. When you use your aid reaction, attempt a skill check or attack roll of a type decided by the GM. The typical DC is 15, but the GM might adjust the DC for particularly hard or easy tasks. The GM can add any relevant traits to your preparatory action or to your aid reaction depending on the situation, or even allow you to aid checks other than skill checks and attack rolls. Considering there's 3 types of checks, like you can aid skill checks, you can aid attack rolls, and the only other type of check is saving throws. So like they could have just said your GM might allow you to aid with saving throws. I don't know, maybe you prepare to shove someone out of the way of fireball or something.
I mean, the way that I've seen it used a lot is with trying to get rid of persistent damage, but I think it's a 2-action activity, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's see. So that's a separate thing, like that's providing like meaningful assistance or whatever, and then it reduces the flat DC to remove persistent damage.
Yeah,
which is specifically written into the rules for the persistent damage. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like pouring water on someone who's on fire, something like that.
Yeah.
All right. So
it seems helpful.
So I want to look at this DC of 15 because this is pretty important. In 5e, a DC of 15, like decently difficult. At level 1, you've got a 50-50 shot of succeeding. In PF2, that's nothing. Like a DC of 15 is...
It depends on what level you're at. Because like I would say 1st to 2nd level, it's not challenging, but it's decently challenging. It's not a 50-50 shot like in 5e. I would say it would be equivalent to like a DC 10 in 5e. But early on, that's going to be kind of a hurdle. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Once you get into the higher levels, DC 15 is laughable.
Let's actually, like, Tyler, can you bring this to numbers? Like, if I'm reasonably good at something, how bad would I have to roll to fail at this?
I actually am running a game right now, a Pathfinder 2 game, that the players are currently at level 13. A person who's decently good at a skill, I would say, has like a plus 20, 25 to the roll. Someone who's really good is going to have like a plus 30, plus 35. They would have to crit fail. At a certain point, it just becomes a guarantee.
For folks at home, recognizing with PF2, what Ash is calling out, they likely succeed on the check, even with a natural 1, but a natural 1 in PF2 lowers the level of success to it.
Yeah, which means that at worst with this stuff, like if they have a plus 30, let's say, at worst, if they crit fail, it's just merely a success.
Yeah.
So that's if they roll a nat 1. Once you get to higher levels, the assist DC just becomes a guarantee.
But let's even talk about lower levels.
Yeah. right from level 1, let's say you've got a +4 attribute for whatever you're doing, which is your key attribute, you're probably going to start with a +4 at level 1. And then you have +3 from proficiency. It's your level +2. So you've got a +7 modifier just right out the gate. You're succeeding on an 8 or above. You're critically succeeding on 18, 19, or 20. You're doing great right from level 1. And every level that improves by at least 1, and it just gets easier and easier and easier for you. Improving your proficiencies in whatever skill, whatever attack you're making, those are going to improve your modifier faster. Remember, the DC is just 15. It doesn't change.
Yeah, I mean, again, like it does call out for like specific checks. The DM might determine that it's more difficult, but at the most that might up the DC to like 20, 25, which is still not that bad. The people are just like, well, then what's the point of the check? I think what people negate about how Pathfinder 2 approaches things, which is something I really like about it, things that were difficult when you were lower level become easier as you get better at them, which feels good. It feels like verisimilitude. It feels like you're getting stronger. It feels like you're doing more, rather than 5e where everything just kind of stays the same no matter what level you're at.
Maybe we just want to read rules text, but let's talk through the benefit of offering aid. In 5e, we talked about getting advantage on the next thing that was happening. Obviously, we're not doing anything with advantage in PF2. So what benefit am I getting?
Probably a +1.
Hooray! Yeah.
It is better than that. If on a regular success, it's a +1, which is underwhelming. But when we're talking about like higher levels, when it's like kind of a guarantee that you'll critically succeed at this, you get more than that. You get a +2 bonus. If you're a master with the check, the bonus is +3. And if you're legendary, it's a +4. So especially at higher levels, that's going to be a substantial boost to whatever you're trying to do.
So it's a circumstance bonus. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I know we can't stack circumstance bonuses from the same source. In PF2, can we not stack circumstance bonuses, period?
Correct.
Yeah, no, you can't stack bonus. Bonuses have to be from different sources. That's why there's circumstance bonus, there's item bonus, insight bonus. If you're ever reading the PF2, sorry, are you correcting me?
I am. There's no insight bonus. It's status, item, circumstance. That is all. They got rid of all of the other million
I'm
kinds.
Thinking of Pathfinder. I'm thinking of Pathfinder 1. But yeah, so yeah, there are different types of bonuses. It's status, circumstance, and what was the other one?
Item,
yeah. So yeah, those if you get bonuses from two different statuses, 2 status bonuses, you just take the higher one. Yeah, if people are wondering what's the difference between a status, a circumstance, and a item bonus, it's so that they don't stack with each other is essentially what it means.
You do have an opportunity to stack up to 3 things from 3 different types of bonuses. It's just that you can't pound on 4 different circumstance bonuses.
Yeah.
Instead, you're just going to take the maximum value and go forward.
Yeah, you can think of it like temporary HP. You can't stack temporary HP from the same source.
It's interesting to me, the way that we're talking through this, it sounds like giving aid is fairly easy. It does have a cost, but we talked about it isn't actually that tremendous. A lot of classes, they're not going to lose much by giving aid. The higher level we are, the more likely we're going to be successful giving aid. But because the math has higher bounds, the numbers are bigger in PF2. The benefit of giving somebody aid is not really that tremendous either, especially as we get to higher levels.
I'm going to disagree with you there. So in PF2, throughout the level range, a +1 bonus is meaningful. Like circumstance bonuses are very common. It's very easy to find them, so it will be hard to stack. Most circumstance bonuses you're going to find are going to be +1, +2. Every +1 improves your degree of success by 10%. Think of it that way. You have a 10% chance on the D20 scale to get a result that is 1 degree of success better than you would have. A +2, 20% chance, +3, 30%, +4, 40% chance to get a better degree of success. Like that is absolutely massive. +1 is good at any level. +2 is great.
Yeah, I guess when you math with that math, that's fair.
This is where Pathfinder 2's degrees of success really shines and shows why it's kind of an elegant design decision. Someone coming from 5e, a +1 is going to feel really underwhelming. As a 5e player, you don't get anything more from succeeding better at a roll. You just have to meet the DC. So a +1 is not going to be all that significant. But you can't think of it in terms of the +1 is there to improve my odds of beating the DC. You have to think of it as the +1 is there to increase my odds of getting a better success rate. especially like Tyler said, every +1 gives you an incrementally higher chance. You only have to get to +10 to guarantee another level of success. It's significant. Even at level 1, a +1 is significant, especially considering how hard it is to critically succeed at most things when you're low level. And when we're talking about higher levels, a +1, yeah, sure, +1 might feel a little bit underwhelming. But now we're pretty much guaranteeing that we're going to critically succeed on this check. So a +3 or a +2 or +3 or +4 is going to be incredible at higher levels. The risk of aid is that if you critically fail, you impose a -1 penalty. But again, that becomes less likely and pretty much impossible at higher levels.
But at least there's some risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Okay, so let's take another look at some rules text, because the GM core does have like a 1-paragraph note on this that I stumbled on by accident. It's up to you whether someone's preparation is enough to let them aid an ally. The preparation should be specific to the task at hand. Helping someone hold a lockpick steady might be enough preparation to aid an attempt to pick a lock. There's that example Randall called out. But just saying you're going to encourage them likely would. Second, the character who's attempting to aid needs to be in a proper position to help and able to convey any necessary information. Helping a character climb a wall is pretty tough if a character PC wishes to aid is nowhere near them. Similarly, a character usually needs to be next to their ally or a foe to aid the ally in attacking the foe. You'll also need to determine how long the preparation takes. Typically, a single action is sufficient to help with a task that's completed in a single round, but to help someone perform a long-term task like research, the character has to help until the task is finished. So this all seems super obvious and sensible to me.
I'll push back a little bit. This guidance just feels like a slightly more long-winded version of what we just complained about for 5e, in the sense that like it's basically saying use your head. You know, you can't very well help by creating a feint if you're 30 foot away from something, unless maybe you're near your ally and then you're maybe coaching your ally of like aim a little higher. Put your finger. I don't know what the right answer is here. So there's more guidance and there's plenty of examples, but it's still ultimately saying, GM, you need to figure out if what they're doing for aid makes sense to actually consider preparation to give aid.
I'm going to push back on you a bit. I think this is better, even though you would say it's long-winded. It at least gives clear language as to how you need to be thinking about certain things. Whereas in 5e, it's just sort of like the DM might allow you to assist, and it doesn't give you any sort of more guidance than that. Whereas like it seems small, but it's crucial, where it's just like typically it's an action. But if you're doing a long-term form thing, it requires you to assist them throughout the entire time frame. 5e doesn't do that. 5e doesn't tell you that. It just says you use your action. And so a lot of people will argue to the DM, I only need to take an action to assist in this long-term task. That's where it becomes a bit of an issue. I know it seems minor, but having these clarifications has a way of guiding inexperienced DMs and also helps with conflict resolution at the table when you can just say, hey guys, this is what the language says specifically, so we're going to go by the language. Especially coming from groups who will rules lawyer to hell and back. It is helpful to just have things spelled out, even if it seems unnecessary.
No, I do agree with that. And like kind of the burden put on the player and the bar put on the player in PF2 is significantly better for the entire table, not just the GM, for the table to flow better.
Yeah.
It just goes back to, I think 5e is better for players in terms of like just getting them into the game and stuff like that. I think PF2 is better for GMs because it gives GMs more hard and fast rules and guidance rather than 5e where it's just like, oh, figure it out.
All right. Do we want to talk about some character options in PF2?
I'm excited about this. I've been meaning to write an article about optimizing aid for a little while. Just haven't gotten around to it. There are a few options that make aid easier. It's not especially difficult, but boy, you can make it super easy. So there's a first level human ancestry feat called Cooperative Nature that just gives you a +4 circumstance bonus on checks to aid. So right from level 1, you can have that +4 from your attribute, +3 from proficiency, and then +4 from Cooperative Nature. So you've got a +11 modifier right from level 1.
Okay, so I need to roll a 4 on the die.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a 75% chance of succeeding at level 1.
Yes.
Beautiful.
And that puts like the critical success so easily within reach. You crit on a 14 or higher, and then every level that goes down by at least 1. If you want to be really, really awesome at just helping with whatever, you can take Untrained Improvisation, which lets you use your level as your proficiency bonus for any skill check. So just your level plus your attribute plus 4 from Cooperative Nature. You're pretty well set to aid on literally anything. 2 feats, piece of cake.
It's wild. The thing about Pathfinder 2 that I've noticed about my groups is people underestimate just how substantially powerful aid is and how useful it is. Mm-hmm. People are coming from 5e where they think aid is a waste of time. And I've been trying to instill my players, no, aid is really good. Use it, please. It can be the difference between success and failure, or success and a critical success. It's so useful.
Another character option I discovered recently, the Shuni, which is a very, very popular ancestry that they really haven't gotten a lot of mechanical attention, but people love them anyway because they're pug humanoids.
Oh.
Yeah. They're real cute. Like, all of the art has them like delivering letters and swinging great swords and stuff. Like, I wouldn't want a pug as a dog because I can't handle those mouth noises, but they're great characters. So they have 2 really interesting ancestry feats called Loyal Empath and Steadfast Ally. Now, Loyal Empath lets you aid a will save, which is something that you can't normally do without like some weird permission from your GM. That alone is neat. Steadfast Ally then lets you take the reaction to aid with a will save without doing anything to prepare, which means you can just do that every round. Like, Steadfast Ally is a reasonably high-level feat, but by the time you're going to get it, just your baseline proficiency progression is going to be good enough that you're guaranteed to succeed on the aid check, if not critically succeed. Just real good. Real great way for you to help your allies.
And I want to make sure that I understand how this is intended to be used. Because we removed the need to prepare, surprise will save later on in the round, and I haven't used my reaction yet, I can just burn my reaction and offer plus a bajillion.
Exactly.
Okay, well, not plus a bajillion. I get to roll with plus a bajillion, and then I can give at most plus 4.
Yep.
Which is great.
Yeah, and
pretty good.
I believe Cooperative Nature applies here. Yes, it does. It doesn't say skill checks. It's just on checks.
That's so good. So you could have like, you give them a +4 pretty easily. Holy crap.
Yeah. Now that does require ancestry feats from 2 ancestries, so you have to take adopted ancestry to make that happen, but like 100% worth it.
Yeah, if you just want to be the person who just goes around being like, help for you and help for you and help for you. Bard who? I don't need a bard.
Yeah, I've got a dog friend.
Yeah. Honestly, I want to play this character. Have you ever critically succeeded on a will save just because there was a dog in the room?
Love that.
Yeah,
it's you know what we call that? We called that emotional therapy dog.
Yeah, dogs are great.
We're gonna start a PF2 game soon, Randall. That might just be my next character. I'm gonna play a dog named Grass. Said when people really need help, they can touch me, so they can touch both grass and a dog at the same time.
You're just an emotional support animal. Oh my god. You could play, what's the dog's name? Is it Peppy or the dog in Last Wish, Puss in Boots? The emotional support dog. You could be Peppy.
I thought you were going to go for John Candy's character in Spaceballs.
No.
Oh gosh. All right, what's a more tortured dog breed, pugs or chihuahuas?
I don't know.
I think it's pugs.
Please play a pug. Yeah. Please play a pug.
Yeah. If I'm going to be a Shuni, I have to.
That's adorable.
So we're playing the PF2ified Kingmaker next.
Yep.
More or less the decision made.
I love Shunis so much. They are adorable.
Yeah.
They're so cute.
We're going to make a pug king.
Okay. Oh, here's a fun callback. If I remember correctly, the first Pathfinder 2nd edition product we reviewed on the podcast was Absalom City of Lost Omens.
Feels right.
That was where Shuni first reappeared in PF2. They didn't have stats yet, but they showed up in the art. I think I have that right. I might be wrong. Don't hang me on the internet. I don't know. Shuni and character building aside, we talked a bit about the math. So I'm staring at the next section of our show notes and thinking, I think we did most of this. Now, I did leave us one question to discuss. The rules text says that the GM might adjust the DC for something that is easier or harder. Now, in every discussion I've seen online, this simply doesn't happen. GMs don't adjust this DC from 15. The rules specifically say that they could, but don't offer any guidance on exactly when they might do that. Gentlemen, all three of us have GM games of Pathfinder 2nd Edition. When do you think you would adjust the DC for aid?
Ooh, it depends. I would say, like, if it's it really depends on the situation, but like a good example I think would be trying to help someone climb up while you yourself are dangling from a cliff. Like you're trying to help push them up while still hanging. That's a difficult task. That's going to require a harder DC. It really kind of depends on the situation. I would say most of the time, if there's no extraneous circumstances, it's going to be a DC 15. If it's like an esoteric spell you're trying to dispel, it might be the DC might be equal to whatever the normal difficulty to dispel the spell is. Other than that, it would be based on the situation, I would say.
Okay, I'm going to offer two very different ideas. The first one is simple. GM Core, page 52.
Okay.
Adjusting difficulty.
Perfect.
Yeah.
There's a table. The guidance in the table is if something is easy, -2, very easy, -5, incredibly easy, -10, hard, +2, very hard, +5, incredibly hard, +10.
I use that. I spend more time on that page than anything else in Pathfinder 2 because it's just such a useful table, especially because it also has breakdowns for like what's an expected normal DC for a character of a specific level or of a specific spell level. And then it also has recommendations like this is for uncommon things, this is for rare things, this is for unique things. It's just such a good table. It's really well done.
In the same way that we just talked about the math of just adding, +1 or +2, increasing the difficulty by 2. Okay, so what? It's only 2. Well, that's a 20% higher likelihood of failure or a lower level of success. So that +2 very well might turn a critical success into a simple success, moving me potentially, if I'm good at something, from a +4 circumstance bonus to a +1 circumstance bonus.
Yeah.
And if something is very hard or incredibly hard, that +5 or +10 is going to be hugely impactful. So I think that's a good, simple way to do it. Now I have my second answer, which is a lot more complicated.
Okay.
Would you consider looking at the level of the spell or looking at if the character I'm aiding, what is their training level with a particular skill that they're about to take? Said differently, if somebody is legendary at crafting, they are legendary at it. And I'm coming along and I'm saying, oh, I know you're legendary at crafting. People have heard about your ability to craft for miles on end. Everybody when it's like, oh, you're the crafter. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to be like, hey, let me hold this paper for you while you craft. And I'm going to roll a 15 and give you a +1 circumstance bonus. Absolutely not. That's not how this works. You need to roll at least a 25 in order for me to offer this to you. Versus if you're not very good at something, like you're trained, but you're hardly better at it than anybody else. Sure. 15 is going to let me help you.
It's really, like I said before, it depends on the situation and the circumstances and who you're trying to help. So in that way, puts more of the onus on the DM, but it gives you enough tools to, like the DC table and all of that other guidance, that you can kind of figure it out pretty easily.
I guess, yeah, my specific offer is when it comes to skill checks that we're attempting to aid, I might use the level of training to actually determine that something is hard or very hard or incredibly hard based on how good you are at the thing and how good your target is at the thing.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Like the mathing that might be kind of a pain. So some folks might look at that and be like, it's not worth the effort. But conceptually, I love that idea. Now, how would you guys handle checks to aid attacking a creature? So like me and my buddy, we're in combat. I have a spare action and I decide to aid them. We're fighting some like level 15 horror from the deeps. The deeps? The depths. That's the word I'm looking for. We're fighting something gross. It's high level. DC to aid is still 15 for some reason. That feels odd to me.
Can I make a quick...
you and then out.
Yeah, I can make a quick... Yeah, I think a good way to do this, I do agree that a DC 15 feels odd and a little bit too easy. I would say, and people can feel free to push back on this, if you're aiding someone to like attack a thing, you could either like just roll an attack roll without the multiple attack penalty, and then you're basically trying to hit the targets. The DC is the target's AC. That would be a good way you could do it. The other way that I could see doing it is if you're not an attack-focused type of class, I would say recall knowledge based on the DC of the creature's description. Each creature in the bestiary has a DC for its knowledge roll, and if you do well on that, you remember a weakness or a vulnerability that you can call out to your friends to exploit, and that makes sense to me. That's just a way that I would rule it, but I can see why some people would say that seems too brutal.
Actually, I like that a lot.
So if I understand you correctly, the idea there is we would let aid remove the multi-attack penalty?
No. You're not making an attack. Yeah. It's just you're rolling an attack with your full bonuses and the DC that you're still doing a skill check, but it's in this case an attack check to see if you can meet or beat the AC. And depending on how much you beat the AC, you're basically creating an opening for your friend.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. And so I might have used my first action to make an attack, my second action to make an attack with the multi-attack penalty. And then for a third action, instead of taking the double multi-attack penalty, I get to make a full roll to then aid the, party member in their next attack.
Right.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, I love that. That's great.
Yeah. And then it
I
also,
feel like we should all do it exactly that way.
It also, I do also like the recall knowledge thing because it encourages people to use recall knowledge more. I've seen it used, which
is a cool mechanic.
But yeah, and the way that I've been ruling it usually with recall knowledge is I give people a list of things that they can choose to get knowledge of, like the defenses, its special abilities, its weaknesses, that kind of stuff. And if they roll a success, they get to ask 2 questions. If they roll a critical success, they can get 3. But I think I might also add this aid thing on top of it to really encourage some of the more intelligent or specialized people to use those recall knowledges more. And it gives people an excuse to use their lore skills more.
I like lore.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to give people more lore skills.
Mm-hmm.
I like everything you just pitched, Ash, and I think it would be great at a table. I would use it. I am going to argue, I don't think rules as written are broken. The way that I'm interpreting this is, let's take 2 examples. I'm fighting what should be a fairly hard encounter. Either this creature I'm fighting has a low AC, or this creature has a high AC. Or maybe it's somewhere in between.
So its AC is low, medium, or high. Got it. It has an AC.
I'm going to make either this skill check or attack roll against a DC of 15 to add a circumstance bonus to a party member's attack. If it is a low AC creature, I'm going to add that, and there's a higher likelihood of them getting a critical success when they make their attack. That's exciting. It's fun gameplay. I gave up a little bit for it. If it's a high AC creature, again, I hit my 15. Now on that next attack, they're either more likely to hit at all, or again, I've increased ever so slightly the likelihood of them getting that critical success. In other words, it feels to me like because the AC should match the type of encounter, it might be a low AC creature with just a ton of health that deals a ton of damage. And that's the nature of the fight. That DC 15 still fits to me perfectly fine. I don't need that to scale and make it harder to aid, only to add a little bit more to then make it harder to hit.
I think I agree. Adjusting the DC higher for stronger creatures, it sounds like a lot of fun. It feels like it could create a cool rock, paper, scissors thing where you figure out which skills are going to work well to aid against this thing. But at the same time, we probably do want aid to just be accessible and just work. So
so not slow down the game to figure out what the heck's going on.
That too.
Yeah, like Rocco was saying, the math of the game really wants players to use aid a lot. And I think players don't. Because again, a lot of especially my players, a lot of my players are coming from 5th edition where aid is useless, and I think people should use it more because it's really good. Did you say Vol of Cthulhu in the show notes?
I accidentally hit V when typing call, and I just went with it.
That's also a little Easter egg for
me. I love that. That's incredible.
All right. And I feel like all of this was a great summary of why PF2 is a wonderful game. And 5e is also a game. We have a question of the week this week. This week, our question of the week comes to us from @the_Gorosaur. Ooh, Team Lore. Who is really pulling the strings in the podcast? Is Leisure Illuminati in control, or is it RPGBot, or one of the others? If this is an uninteresting answer, I'll settle for things like, who kicked off the podcast? How did each of you join? why?
All right. So deep team lore, history of the podcast. So I said all of these things in bits and pieces on the podcast over the years. So this is kind of a friends and family affair. My wife is my business partner on RPGBot, like owns half of the whole thing, helps us with all of our like travel events, planning, a lot of other things behind the scenes.
Search engine optimization.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, Amy comes home one day and is like, I'm going to learn to do SEO for you. I'm like, great, please, yes.
Amy is our mistress and savior.
Yeah. So Amy says to me, look, Tyler, if you want to keep growing this thing, you're going to have to start a podcast. And I said, hard no, absolutely not. Like, I don't want people to hear my voice. I don't want people to see my face. I don't want to do any of these things. No.
And then we did a podcast.
We did a podcast. Yeah. Which, boy, if there's anything... That says so much about my relationship with Amy. Amy has a really good idea. I say no, and then we do it anyway.
The thing that I've come to learn about you, Tyler, is that usually if you want to get Tyler to do a thing, it's just a question of wearing him down enough to where he's like, fine, I'll do it. And then he does it and he realizes that we were right all along.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. So that's how the podcast got kicked off. And we were trying to figure out, like, okay, what do we do with this podcast? Like, how do we put an RPGBot spin on a tabletop RPG podcast? And then Randall, producer Dan, and I were sitting around talking. And like I've said this before, like my frustration with 5e's mounted combat rules are why we started the podcast. I was explaining how the mounted combat rules worked to Randall. Dan was standing right behind me. And Dan says, Tyler, there's your podcast. Like right there. That conversation you just had, podcast. So that is how that happened. We also had to figure out how to do editing, and producer Dan has a history of like music and audio editing and stuff. And like he's just generally a very smart jack of all trades kind of person. So he became our producer and editor.
Yeah, just a clarifying thing for people who don't know, Dan is Tyler's father-in-law. So if you're wondering who Dan is, where did we find this Dan? That's it.
Where did producer Dan come from?
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a whole family and friends affair. And then Ash joined us about a year into the podcast.
Yeah, well, he joined us like 3 months into the podcast.
That's true.
I'll tell my side of the story. So I was originally part of a friends and family podcast as well, although much less organized than this. We were kind of just doing it for fun. It was a podcast called Crit Fails, where we just talked about, it was more of a comedy focused podcast where we talked about our failures as DMs and all the funny shenanigans that was happening. And we reached out to Tyler, or I think, did B reach out to you, or did you reach out to B, or?
Producer Dan probably.
I honestly don't remember. Yeah, Dan may have been the one who put that together.
Yeah. Well, someone reached out to someone, the RPGBot, because we were trying to get guests on. And Tyler, being the wonderful human that he is, agreed to come on our shitty podcast. Excuse me for the language, but he agreed to come onto our podcast, and it was a great time. And Dan thought it would be a good idea to have us also guest. So I get the first episode that I'm actually in is a horror episode. How to do horror and D&D. And yeah, as Rocco pointed out, I was not part of, those who aren't longtime listeners, I wasn't one of the original 3 on this podcast. It was random, but for some conflicts out of reasons that I'm not going to get into, it's not my place to say, but I came in to replace random, and it's been great. I've enjoyed this podcast a lot, and the people here are awesome. And I was nervous that people were going to see me as the guy who replaced random, and fortunately, everybody's been really understanding and welcoming, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and Random is one of my closest and oldest friends. We've known each other since high school and have played D&D and Pathfinder together basically that entire time. Still writes for the site. Super frustrating for me. His subclass handbooks still do better traffic than any of mine. Have not figured that one out.
He does really well. He's also a really friendly guy who gives me great notes on my writing. So shout out to you, Random. Thanks for all your help.
And if you want to talk to Random, you can come into the Patreon Discord, and he is there all the time.
Yeah. He's quite active in the Discord. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember at one point I was hanging out with Tyler, and I misunderstood the homework assignment because Tyler was like, "Well, Amy wants me to start a podcast. If we did a podcast, what would it be?" And I asked the dangerous question of like, "Well, like, do you want it to be on RPGBot?" And I think you meant yes, but what you said is doesn't have to be. And so I started pitching wild ideas. And then at some point I realized like, no, that this is not actually what he was shopping for in that conversation.
Yeah.
I used to have this dream and I still do, but we're not going to do it this year. So my pitch for the podcast was that we do an actual play, but the structure of the actual play would be we build random parties. So, okay, does everybody remember the Quantum Leap TV show from like the 80s? Where like you wake up in a new body and it's like, oh God, I'm in the PF2 universe and I am a human bard and I'm at level 18 and I've never done this before. And then they have to solve some adventure like Scooby-Doo heist, do whatever it's going to take to get out of it, run the combat, show off why that character's great and why as a party, this party works really well together. So kind of teaching the mechanics of optimization and how to build not just a character, but a party by setting up different wacky adventures with like a long running thread for the idea of like the core character, but then constantly showing off builds from RPGBot. The reality is the actual play space is like absolutely dominated, and the amount of time it takes to put something like that together is pretty significant.
Yeah. Also, actual plays tend to not do that well. Like there's a handful that do really, really good numbers, but every time, and Dan has told this to us multiple times, every time we do our Start Playing series, the least listened to episode of those Start Playings is the actual play. Yeah. So we know what our audience
a couple times. Like,
yeah, we know
Vampire. Yeah,
Vampire was.
I think there's more to it than that.
Vampire was an outlier. It was just for some reason people were into that actual play. But yeah, so we know what our audience wants, what our audience is here for. It's not here for actual play. It's here for, discussions on rules and optimization and dice math and watching me suffer, apparently. So yeah, I suffer for you all. I hope you appreciate what I do for you. To answer your question, the Illuminati is in control of the podcast. Not the leisure Illuminati, the actual Illuminati. Help. We're all trapped here. Get us out.
Yeah, they really love dice math. All hail the Illuminati.
Hail.
What do I do with that one?
I'm Reynold James. You'll find me at amateurjack.com and on Twitter and Instagram at jackamateur.
I'm Tyler Campster. You'll find me on RPGBOT.net, Facebook and Twitter, RPGBOT.Net, and most other socials as RPGBot.
And I'm Ash Eli. You can find me needing help on Twitter. Please help me. Please. I need help. Or on YouTube at Ash Raven Media. If you want me to help you create a fun game for your players, you can hire me on startplaying.games. Link in the description.
All right, so I was trying to figure out, like, is Charlie in frame? Like, can people watching the video feed see Charlie? And
not if it's not.
Do you see this
not full screened?
Do you see this vague black rectangle down here in the corner? That's Charlie.
I do see that. Yeah. Yeah, I can only see him if I full screen you. When it's not full screened, I can't see him at all.
It's actually funny when you speak and the purple, like, you're speaking. Highlighting comes up, it eats like half of Charlie, and then when you're silent, I see more Charlie.
Well, I'll just be quiet so people can see more Charlie.
Just everybody stare. If you've enjoyed the show, please rate and review us on Apple Podcast and rate us on Spotify or your favorite podcast app. It's a quick, free way to support the podcast and helps us reach new listeners. You'll find links in the show notes. You'll find affiliate links for source books and other materials linked in the show notes, as well as on RPGBOT.net. Following these links helps us to make this show happen every week. If your question should be the question of the week next week, please email podcast@rpgbot.net or message us on Twitter at RPGBOT.Net. Please also consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can find all kinds of great rewards. At any tier, you'll get early access to RPGBOT.content and polls for future content. At our $3 tiers, you'll enjoy your choice of ad-free access to RPGBOT.net or ad-free podcast episodes and access to live-stream podcast recordings. At our $5 tiers and above, you'll get all of that plus access to the RPGBOT.Discord. you'll find us at patreon.com/RPGBot.
I got him. Yay.
Got him.
Well done.
See, the thing is that he
I made it like 30 seconds longer.
he's never looking at me, so I had to make a sound. I was just like, I'm gonna make one random fart sound and see if it works.
Today's the worst day.
It didn't work right away, but it broke you eventually. I love it.
So you're actually on screen this time. So part of what got me is just you like, anyway.
Just watch. Dan's going to be like, we can't put that in the podcast. He's going to edit in some like weird, wacky sound effect instead.
Old-timey car horn Dan, or something. Please, I order you. Leave that in. I have no authority or leg to stand on, but please leave that in. It's great and it's beautiful, and people are here for the quality content.
This is what our fans want. Yeah. Okay. Delta in the chat. We do. Yeah.